My girlfriend attempted to deceive me into an unplanned pregnancy, not realizing that I had undergone a vasectomy. I am not the biological father of her child. This series of events unfolded over several years and serves as a throwaway account, though the narrative might expand beyond my initial expectations. To provide some background, I have a group of friends at work who enjoy going out on double dates, bringing along their significant others. On multiple occasions, I was invited to join them, but I made it clear that I wasn't currently seeing anyone romantically. In response, they arranged for me to have a date. Naturally, the person they paired me with was a co-worker of one of my friends, whom I'll refer to as P. P was a very reserved and quiet individual from a family that wasn't particularly strict or deeply religious. At first glance, she seemed somewhat out of place in our social circle, but in hindsight, I believe she fit in better with the group than she initially let on. I won't label the friends or their significant others because those details aren't crucial to most of the story. However, they play an important role in how P and I met and in a few other instances. As three couples went out together, P and I quickly connected and became close friends. We spent the evening enjoying drinks and conversation, and eventually, I found myself kissing her and then paying for a taxi to ensure she got home safely. Fast forward about 6 months, and P had moved in with me. Our relationship was going smoothly, we didn't argue, and if we did, it was over something trivial that resolved almost immediately. One night, after being intimate, I noticed that my condom had broken. Panic set in immediately. I started to freak out and told P what had happened. She instantly calmed me down, explaining that she was on birth control. I felt a wave of relief, but then that relief turned into surprise because she had never mentioned this to me before. Or maybe she did, but I was too engrossed in playing Fallout New Vegas at the time to pay attention. Reflecting back, this should have been a warning sign. I attributed it to her taking extra precautions for both our sakes, thinking that combining birth control pills with condoms would make us even safer. Little did I know, things were far from what they seemed. About a week later, P started feeling ill, spending excessive time in the bathroom and unable to keep food down. It was becoming clear that she might be pregnant. Normally, I'm a pretty composed person, but this situation had me genuinely freaking out. I was in a stable financial position, earning enough that P could afford to work part-time while continuing her education. In contrast, I wasn't in school, I worked and had progressed to a higher position in my trade career, which I prefer to keep unnamed for privacy reasons. Having a child together would have significantly altered our lives, requiring P to leave school, stay home for several months, and potentially give up her job. My primary concern was for P's well-being, and I believed I could handle the situation, but she was determined to finish her education and maintain stability. She wanted to ensure that if we ever decided to have children, it wouldn't disrupt her life in such a drastic way. Eventually, she decided to have an abortion and pleaded with me not to inform her parents. Her parents, while not extremely religious, would still view this negatively. It had taken months of convincing her parents and me to allow us to live together when we were both 21 years old, so I wasn't about to disclose this information now. I was almost surprised by her decision, hoping it was the right choice for both of us. In truth, I would have been willing to stay and raise the child with her through any challenges because of how much I loved her. For about 4 months after the abortion, we barely communicated, and I thought our relationship was over. However, one night, everything seemed to return to normal, and I believed we were back on track. This was another red flag, but in my excitement, I didn't recognize it at the time. Having gone through such a scare and knowing she was on birth control led me to believe everything was fine. Some of you might cringe at the mention of the vasectomy, but I had undergone the procedure. I went in for a consultation with my primary care doctor and was referred to a specialist who performed the vasectomy. After a week of rest and taking paid vacation, I returned to work on light duty as business picked up rapidly. I didn't have the time to inform P about the procedure, especially since she was on break visiting family. I wanted to wait until she returned home to discuss it privately, away from her parents' ears. Unfortunately, both of us became so busy that the conversation never happened. This might seem odd, given that a vasectomy is a significant change in a relationship, but I was a young man whose life was constantly hectic with work, leaving little room for personal matters. Fast forward 2.5 years, I had received a few promotions, was thoroughly enjoying life, and was deeply in love with P. We were even considering marriage once she completed her studies. By this time, our relationship had matured to the point where we no longer used birth control pills or condoms. Instead, P mentioned that she had gotten an intrauterine device, IUD, to prevent pregnancy. At first, this seemed unusual, considering my vasectomy, but I rationalized that she might have wanted the extra protection. However, in mid-August 2014, P fell ill again, and this time, we were unsure what was wrong. I rushed her to the emergency room, becoming that person who takes their significant other to the hospital to find out they are pregnant. The first reaction many might expect is anger or accusations of infidelity, but I was just as surprised as she was. I assured her that everything would be okay and that I would support her fully. State laws vary, and your situation might differ, but in our state, unless the biological father signs the birth certificate in person, he isn't legally recognized as the father. I made sure to consult with my company's attorney, who referred me to a legal expert in paternity matters. About a week and a half later, I met with the attorney and ensured that if I could provide undeniable proof that I wasn't the father, I would have no legal responsibilities for the child. From PS perspective, it appeared that I might be the father since we weren't using any birth control methods at that time. It turned out that P had scheduled the appointment for an abortion but had it cancelled due to complications that caused pain and swelling. I was never informed about this change. Normally, I respect personal boundaries and didn't want to be overbearing, so I left things alone. We both had our own phones, PCs, and tablets, so she didn't suspect anything when I decided to investigate. I searched through hundreds of her emails, finding numerous exchanges about setting appointments, times, and prices. Initially, I thought she was trying to scam money, but it became clear that she was actually dealing with obtaining medications illegally, selling drugs she had stolen from patients. The abortion she underwent wasn't her first. I forgot to mention that she was studying to become a registered nurse, RN. She would steal medications from elderly patients, young individuals, and cancer patients, using deceit to cover her tracks. She hid all of this not only from me but also from her teachers and parents. Her main source of drugs was exploiting people she had previously interacted with, causing them harm to obtain prescriptions for pain medication. Throughout her pregnancy, I remained silent. I didn't inform her parents, friends, or teachers about what was happening. She was nearing graduation and about to become a mother, so everything seemed to be going smoothly on her end. I even secured a new apartment and began selling my belongings to save money for the baby, although in reality, I was moving my funds to the new place. She found my actions odd when I sold my gaming rig, laptop, and Xbox, but I explained that it was all for our future child. At this point, I realized I needed assistance, so I reached out to the friend who had initially set me up with P. Although he had left the company I worked for, it wouldn't negatively impact him. I needed more information about P's part-time job to find a way to confront her. Her boss was the same person I needed to talk to, and P had maintained the same outward demeanor to her employer as she did with everyone else. To this day, I admire her ability to be so deceptive, but it also means I have no regrets or feelings of guilt. I shared everything with my friend, who was shocked, saddened, and angered by P's manipulative behavior. P had been involved in workplace theft and had a meticulous plan to cover her tracks, making it easy for her to frame others. Honestly, I hadn't scrutinized her closely enough, as her facade had fooled everyone around her. Fortunately, during P's maternity leave, the security cameras at her workplace were upgraded, allowing us to devise a plan. The week she was due, she was admitted to the hospital and stayed for 3 nights before giving birth. I had no issues with the child, as you'll soon learn, but at that time, the baby symbolized misplaced trust and heartbreak. Shortly after the birth, the hospital had to take the baby away because he was jaundiced. Although he seemed fine, the doctors wanted to be certain, and P reluctantly agreed to let him go. She asked what we should name our son, and I could see the distress in her eyes. She struggled to speak before I interrupted, revealing that I had undergone a vasectomy 6 months into our relationship. Her reaction confirmed that the baby was solely hers, not ours. Tears streamed down her face as I told her that she should never speak to me again, and I walked out. I informed the medical staff that my name should not be on the birth certificate under any circumstances. I presented myself as a concerned former boyfriend who had been unfaithful and was struggling with substance abuse issues. Lab reports on the umbilical cord blood confirmed my suspicions, but the baby was healthy. I was there only to ensure the baby's well-being and to make it clear that I wasn't to be contacted again. If P claimed I was still her boyfriend, people shouldn't believe her. If necessary, I would provide proof to back up my story. I packed my things and moved into my new apartment, leaving behind P as revenge. You might think this wasn't too harsh, and honestly, I didn't view it that way either. Once P returned home, I left my keys and $400 in an envelope at her place to ensure she had money for necessities while she was out. I expected she might use the money to buy more pills, try to sell something, or perhaps seek help to get her life back on track. She ended up doing all 3. By this point, I was settled in terms of work and wasn't worried about the parent situation. When P was released from the hospital, her parents picked her up since I wasn't around. She called them, complained, and they threatened to throw me out, but since I wasn't present, she was left with the envelope containing $400 and the keys. It seemed she quickly returned to her usual routine, believing she had avoided serious consequences with just one baby. Not long after, P lost her job due to theft, as security footage revealed her manipulating cash drawers and framing other employees. She told her parents that the incidents weren't her fault, and they believed her. Her school also received a large package anonymously informing them of her recent termination for stealing and substance abuse. This package included emails and messages related to her illicit activities. Additionally, the hospital she worked at received similar information, leading to her being reported to the police. Her parents disowned her, her school expelled her, and she lost her job. Ultimately, she lost everything, including the baby, who was fine because his biological father was identified. It turned out that the other couple we had been with on our first date had a connection to the father. That man, who was still employed at my company, had gone through a divorce and was feeling lonely. A paternity test confirmed he was the father, and he was awarded custody of the child. In the end, P found herself with no home, no friends, no job, and no career prospects. She had a criminal record, and her child was with his biological father. She had no visiting rights, was single, and still interacted with her parents, who had no involvement in her life anymore. Meanwhile, I maintained my job, kept my apartment, and most importantly, I wasn't the father of her child.